Greetings and welcome to episode 9 of the Woldenburn Podcast. My name is Emily and I am just so glad that you are here today. I have, several things to talk about as far as sewing and knitting. I didn't think that I was going to have quite as much as I do, so that's good. One thing that I really quick wanted to say, I am going to switch things around for this format a little bit, and I'm going to start doing just the life update thing right here at the beginning, because that's the natural thing that I want to do, is I want to update you on what I've been doing for the past couple of weeks. So we're just going to do this right here at the beginning, keep it short instead of doing it at the end. I'll have timestamps for everything down below, so if you're not really interested in what I've been up to, you can just skip forward to the crafty segments. So this last weekend was Micah's and my 1-year anniversary of being married. So we ended up going on a little weekend trip to Chattanooga, which was where we went to on our honeymoon last year. And we had just the most wonderful weekend. It was so lovely. The weather was beautiful. We got our first frost about a week or two ago, and so all of the leaves have been changing colors on the trees and just generally looking absolutely stunning. So it was lovely. It wasn't rainy, so there was a lot of sunshine. Even though it was a little bit chilly, it was still quite nice to be outside. So we went down on the Friday and we just kind of walked around a little bit, and we ended up going to a used bookstore on Friday, and then Saturday morning we walked around for about an hour or so. There's in Chattanooga, Tennessee, there's this beautiful bridge that goes over the river, and we just kind of walked over that and walked around kind of downtown Chattanooga a little bit. And we came back and sat in a coffee shop cafe place for, I don't know, 2-3 hours or something, and it was amazing. We just sat there, and I was reading and working on some knitting, and Micah was doing his thing, and it was just so lovely and so cozy, and we got some drinks and just chilled for a few hours, and then we went to a plant nursery, and I was going to show it later, but I'll go ahead and show it now. I finally got a little snake plant, which I've been wanting a snake plant for absolutely ages, and so Micah got me this beautiful polka dot pot. And it's funny because I didn't realize it when I picked this one. There's actually another tiny little snake plant growing out of the side here. So at some point I'll be able to split that off and put it in another pot and have 2 snake plants. So I'm really happy about that because I've been wanting a snake plant for absolutely ages. From what I've heard, they're one of the easiest houseplants to maintain and keep healthy, and it looks so beautiful. But anyway, we got that, and then we ended up going out for a nice dinner Saturday night, and then on Sunday we popped by to see my siblings who are in college right now, and we got to chat and hang out with them, which was really nice and fun, and then we came back home. I was going to try and film yesterday, but by the time we got home, the place that we stayed at, the Airbnb, the bed was so uncomfortable. And the pillows were absolutely horrible compared to what we're used to. We have a memory foam mattress and then memory foam pillows, and so it's a very specific pillows, and they're very comfortable, and I absolutely love our bed. But the mattress and pillows at the Airbnb were terrible, and so I slept quite badly both the nights that we were there. And then not only that, but they also had one very thin blanket, and it got down to 30 something degrees Fahrenheit at night, and so it was cold, and it was kind of an old house, and so it was not very well heated. So it worked out because it was a beautiful location to have it in, because it was very close to all of the shops and places that we wanted to pop into and walking around. There's a beautiful park that's down there by that bridge that I mentioned, and so it was a really good location. It was just not the nicest Airbnb. So yesterday when we got home, I was exhausted. I got into bed at 6:45 because I was so tired. I didn't end up falling asleep probably until about 7:30, but I was very tired. So it was just such a nice weekend, and I really enjoyed it. It was so refreshing. We have today off. It's Monday, so we have today off from work, both of us do, which is why I'm filming in here rather than in our bedroom where I normally do, because Mike is in there working on writing and stuff. And yeah, so it has just been so nice. That's pretty much all the life update. Other than that, it's just been, regular life as usual, work and everything. So let's go ahead and jump into the crafty part of this podcast. As far as knitting finished objects, I don't have any finished objects for knitting, but I do have some works in progress or WIPs to show you. So let's start with the one that I haven't worked on in a little bit. This is a triangular garter stitch shawl that I am working on making for Micah's grandmother for a Christmas present. And I am just making up this pattern as I go along. I love garter stitch. It is super simple and easy. It's the most basic you can get with knitting, and I also just love the texture and the feel of it. It's so squidgy and soft, and I love it. And I'm knitting this out of Lion Brand Heartland yarn, which is this, and it's in the colorway Olympic. And it's this beautiful blue with like variegated bits of color. I really, really like it. And it's an acrylic yarn, as this is a gift knit. Well, even if it wasn't a gift knit, I love this yarn. I want to make something for me out of this yarn. I really like it, even though it's an acrylic yarn. It's probably my favorite acrylic yarn I've ever used. And I'm knitting this on US size 7 needles, which I think is like a 4.5 millimeter, but I'm not 100% sure. And yeah, I'm just kind of making it up as I go along, kind of increasing on the edges as I feel the need to. And I really like it. So far, it's coming out pretty good. It's pretty squidgy and soft. I've got a ways to go. This is just the very, very beginning of it, but I want it to be something that's big enough to like go over your shoulders and whatnot. So I haven't worked on this because we've been gone over the weekend, but it grows super quickly because it's a worsted weight yarn. There's not much more to say about it. It's just a very basic, simple, triangular garter stitch shawl. And I've got plenty of time to get this done because I don't need it done until December. There's that one. Then let me give you a little bit of an update on my Guile or Gill sweater. This was the project that I worked on while we were sitting in that coffee shop and just knitted on it for a while. This is my sweater. And it doesn't look enormously different from the last time I showed it to you. But anyway, this is the Gill sweater, Guile. I don't know. I need to look up how to pronounce that. I think it's like a Welsh or something word, and I just need to look it up. But it's a sweater pattern that is designed by Claire Walls of the Flossy Knits and the Flossy Podcast here on YouTube, which I highly recommend checking out. And it's this beautiful all over moss stitch pattern with this gorgeous cable down the front. There we go. And I am absolutely loving it. It is pretty much a mindless knit at this point because I'm working on the body, so it's just straight down. And so other than that, the one cable section is just moss stitch. So it's knit and purl, knit and purl, knit and purl, knit and purl. And oh, I cannot wait to get this done. It is going to be absolutely lovely. And I cannot wait to wear it. But I'm also really enjoying working on it. So yeah, and this is in a DK weight yarn. It is my hand-dyed yarn. It's on a 75-25 superwash merino nylon blend. Yeah. And I'm knitting this, I think, on US size 5 needles. I can't remember for sure. It's either 4 or 5. I ended up going down a needle size from what the pattern suggested because I really liked the fabric that it gave. Nothing else to say about that. So there's that project. And then the next project is actually a new cast on from the last time that I filmed a podcast, and it is a pair of socks that I am test knitting for, let me make sure I get this right, Isa of the Knitting Savvy on Instagram, and it is the Festive Garland socks, which are these beautiful socks with this beautiful cable down here, down the middle, and they are worked toe up. And I have finished turning the heel, and I am now working on the leg. So I'm in the final stretch of this sock, and I'm loving it. It is so beautiful. Like, look at that cable pattern. I realized that cables are probably one of my top favorite, like cables and texture are my go-to loves when it comes to knitting. I'm not a huge lace fan, unless it was probably a shawl. I'd be okay with a lace shawl, but as far as like sweaters or socks, I like those things to be very cozy, very warm, not have a lot of like the lacy holes in it. Yeah, I just really like how this is coming out. And it has a seed stitch all over the back, all the way up, which is kind of funny considering I'm doing a moss stitch on my sweater and now I'm doing seed stitch on the sock. So I've got, I think, another week and a half to finish the sock and do the next one. I wasn't able to really work on this too much over the weekend because since it does have the cable pattern, I have to have the pattern with me at all times. And I put it on our Kindle. It's Micah's Kindle that I've stolen. I put it on the Kindle, but it was kind of too small to really see it very easily, so I honestly just ended up working on the sweater most of the time. I think I did like 3 or 4 rows on the sock. Yeah, I'm really enjoying this, and this again is some of my hand-dyed yarn on a 75-25 superwash merino nylon blend, and this is just some yarn that I've had in my stash for forever. And then when I got accepted into the test knit, I was like, okay, I've got to pick a yarn for making these socks, and I really like it. It's just a pinky, beige, mauve, purpley sock colorway. It's really nice. Let me see here. Yeah, that is all that I have in the way of knitting. There are some other projects that I really want to work on, and sometime this week I'm gonna start making some, yeah, it would have to be this week because my sister is coming back into town here, because where they're going to college is about 3-ish hours away from where Micah and I live, and my parents now live about 10 hours away. And so for Thanksgiving from college, they're only getting a long weekend break, so it's not really enough to drive 20 hours to go back to my parents for Thanksgiving, so they're coming here for Thanksgiving. So I have all of the Christmas and birthday presents and whatnot that I'm going to be sending back with her to take to my parents for Christmas. And so this week I need to work on a couple of other knitting projects that I'm doing as Christmas presents for like my mom and such. So I might work on that this week. Yeah, I'm gonna have to because we've only got about a week and a half until Thanksgiving. Let's go ahead and talk about some sewing because I actually have some fun sewing updates. I haven't done anything on the jumper, this dress. I still have the pattern sitting over there on the floor just waiting to get cut out, and I haven't done it. At some point I will. But I do have, I actually have a finished object to show you with sewing, and then a couple of projects. So I guess I'll go ahead and talk about this one first. I decided Thursday afternoon that I wanted to have a special dress to wear for Micah's and my fancy anniversary. It wasn't even that fancy. It was a special anniversary date. So I decided I wanted a dress to wear for that. And so I whipped one up in like a few hours, and I love it. This is the Joni dress from, actually let me grab this. This is one convenient part about filming in here is that I have all of my supplies in here. From Stretch by Tilly and the Buttons, and let me see here, this dress, the Joni dress. And I made it out of a fabric that I bought from Joanne Fabrics in maybe February or something. For last Christmas, my mother-in-law gave me a gift card to Joann's, and so I was able to get like some knitting needles that I needed and this fabric. And it's been sitting on my shelf. I've almost like gotten rid of it a couple times because I was just like, I don't know, am I ever going to use it? And I like to keep, like, you can kind of see, that's my fabric stash. Like, this is all of, I think there's one piece down here, but this is all the fabric that I have, and I don't like having a ton of fabric. And also on the flip side, that's all my yarn. There is one basket down here, but that is all the yarn that I have. So I go through periodic clear outs where I try to get rid of anything that I haven't used, that I don't think I'm going to use. But I'm so glad I didn't get rid of this because it ended up absolutely perfect. It was such an enjoyable sew. I have made, I would say probably 4 of the Joni dresses before, and I've never loved, one of the big features of the Joni dress is this knot here in the front, this twist, which you can sort of see. And I've never had good success with getting that twist to look right and then having the neckline finish look right. It just never turned out quite right. And I hated that because what would happen is it would just show the wrong side of the fabric at that twist. And it drove me insane. But what I did this time is I actually ended up looking up on the internet to try and find some other way of doing it. Because the way that they do it in the book I didn't completely understand it. And so I found a video by, let me see here, Sheena, I'm not sure, of Sewsfaction, which I will link the video down below. And she had a slightly different way of doing that neckline twist, and it worked like a charm. It was absolutely perfect. And so I am so happy with this. And now I actually have, let's pull them out here. I have 2 other pieces of knit fabric that I think I'm going to turn into journey dresses as well, because I just love how it turned out so much. And these are just really inexpensive fabrics. They're like pre-cut fabrics that I got from Walmart. Just because I love the print. They were really inexpensive, like $4 or $5 for each one. But they felt like a higher quality than typical Walmart fabrics. And this one is just this beautiful like blue flowers. And this one is like some of the softest knit fabric I have ever felt. It is so nice. So I'm thinking Joni dresses out of both of these would be really nice. And this dress sewed up so quickly. Like I had it all cut out and ready to go and done in a matter of a few hours. It was astounding to me. It was so lovely. I ended up, one other thing that I did differently on this one, because I've had issues in the past with the shoulder of the Joni dress not fitting. Like it looked all kind of puckered out and poofed and did not fit well at all. And I think that the reason for that is that the arch of the sleeve pattern was just too high up and wonky for my particular body shape. So instead of using the sleeve from there, I used my favorite sleeve pattern from, what is it? Deer and Doe, the cardamom dress. And I slightly modified it because this is a knit fabric and that is for a like woven regular cotton fabric sort of a dress. And I modified it slightly and used that sleeve pattern for this, which worked like a charm. It was perfect. So I ended up giving it long sleeves. My original plan was to put a cuff on it and pull it in kind of like a balloon sleeve. And then I was trying it on and Micah said that he really liked the full open sleeves, and so I was like, okay, well, I'll leave it this way for now. I am gonna go back and put a cuff on it. I just don't like super long sleeves. I feel like they get into everything, or super full sleeves, but I love a good balloon sleeve because it's just like you feel floaty. So I am probably today gonna go back on and put those cuffs on the end of the sleeves, and I think it's gonna look so nice. But yeah, I ended up lengthening the skirt a bit, which meant that I had to make it a little bit less full than the original pattern. But yeah, I love it. It fits beautifully. I also did a slight full bust adjustment, which I think is another part of the reason why this dress fits so much better than previous iterations of this dress that I have made. Overall, I'm so happy with this. Like it was so fast and so easy, and it worked so well, and it was one of those projects where it's like, this is the first time I've had something go so quickly and easily with sewing in a while, and it kind of has upped my desire to do some sewing. But we're gonna put that over there, and then I actually have 2 other sewing projects to show you. Okay, so the first one is in pieces still. I am in the process of making another Jennifer Lauren handmade Felicity dress, which has become one of my all-time favorite dress patterns. I have 3 versions of it in my closet right now. I'm making this one, and I have fabric that I'm pretty sure I'm going to use for another one. It is out of this watermelon print fabric that I got from Joann, and it's been sitting in my stash for about a year. I think I got this last year, and it's just been sitting there waiting, chilling in my stash. And I was kind of trying to I kept going back and forth. Do I want to make like a shirt dress with buttons down the front and a collar and all of that, or what? And then just like last week I realized, I was like, you love your Felicity dresses. You wear them multiple times a week. Like, all 3 of them typically get worn once a week. Like, yeah, I love them. I love the fact that they, like, the pockets that they have, the way that they're done. Like, I really enjoy wearing them. I love how they look on me. They're great for wearing with, like, cardigans because they're sleeveless dresses. I really love them. So I kind of had this talk with myself, and I was like, stop saving this fabric for something special or the perfect pattern, because you love the Felicity dress. So just make another Felicity dress. So I'm doing that. I listened to myself, and I'm working on a Felicity dress. So right now I've only done just a little bit. I did a little bit of work on it last night. I got all of my strips for bias binding stitched together, so I just need to iron it all out. And I'm really excited. I'm looking forward to having another one of these Felicity dresses. And then I also have another piece of fabric here, which is this beautiful, I got this from fabric.com, and it's this gorgeous like black background with these like cityscapes, and I saw it and I just thought it was so cool. I might turn this into another Felicity dress. I'm still going back and forth on it just a little bit, but because I feel like this one might look better if it has some sleeves on it rather than the sleeveless like the Felicity dress. But because it's a very directional print, I don't really want to do something that's going to have a ton of pieces that'll kind of cut it up. So still debating on it, but I might turn this into a Felicity dress. There's that. And let me see here. Okay, and then the last sewing project that I have is not gonna look like much. I am in the process of making an advent calendar. That is something that hopefully Mike and I will be able to use for our family for the next 20 years or however long it is, before it dies and is worn out. But I'm in the process of doing that, and I have used some canvas fabric. This is actually a paint tarp from Lowe's, which is a hardware store in the US if you're not familiar. And I actually really love this canvas fabric. I've used it before for, like, this tote bag that I made is actually from paint tarp fabric. I've used it now as a project bag. And I have used it for a number of different things, and I really like it, and it's super inexpensive. You get a huge piece of canvas for like $10 or something. It's not very expensive at all. One of the reasons I like it is because it has almost this rustic appearance to it, where it'll have little flecks of like different colored threads in it, or it'll have like these little nubbins where there was like an extra thick thread. Let me see. I'm trying to see if there's a section where I can kind of show you how it looks. I don't know if you'll be able to see it or not. Yeah, see, like that, where there's that extra thick thread or like little speckles. And I really, really like that. I like that it does that. So anyway, recommend it if you want to make tote bags or advent calendars, or, you know, all sorts of things. Anything you want to make with canvas, I do recommend you check it out. It is a lighter weight canvas, so I have actually, this is 2 layers of canvas that I've stitched together, but I don't mind if it's lighter weight. So this is the background that's going to hang up, and then I've got each of these, well, I've got a bunch more to turn right side out, but each of these is going to be the little pocket that I'm going to stitch onto it. And then I'm planning to use either a fabric marker or like a paint marker to put the numbers on it, so 1 through 24. And I actually need to get a move on with this one, because I keep forgetting that Advent is like in 2 weeks is when it technically starts. Right about, yes, because we're halfway through November today. I gotta hurry up. So yeah, that is all that we have as far as sewing, which is surprising because I actually have a decent amount of sewing this week, which is new. So for the next bit, I don't have any like craft supplies acquisitions, but I do have a few things that I purchased when we were in Chattanooga. And the main thing is there was a plant that I got, and then we got some books, which I got like some Louis L'Amour books and another Georgette Heyer book, and then like 1 or 2 other books. And I also, there was this really cute little store called the Boxcar General Store. And it had like all of these vintagey sort of things, like old-fashioned games, and it had these beautiful puzzles. I'm going to put some pictures up here because I was so close to buying them, and I might still buy them online. Beautiful puzzles by, I believe the artwork was done, I think it was Lauren Waltman. If I'm incorrect, I'll correct myself on the screen. But there were these beautiful, beautiful puzzles, and I wanted them so bad, but they were like $25 a piece, and I was like, oh, okay. So I didn't end up getting those, but I found them online where I can purchase them, and I might go ahead and buy them. So they're so pretty. Anyway, what I did end up buying there is this gorgeous canvas tote, which I realized, sorry, I think I got some sort of buzz from one of the yarns, or maybe from my sweater or something. My nose is like, ugh. I realized I can use this as a project bag for like November, December every year, and I love it. It says it's Christmas, and it has these beautiful little houses on it, and then these children running around and playing, and all this, and then this lady right down here at the bottom. Oh, I love her dress so much. It's just so like 1950s and whatnot, and it just makes me so happy. I love it so, so much. And this is actually made by Cavallini & Co., I believe, is the company that made this. So I might need to look online and see if they've got more. But it's a very nice, very sturdy tote. And it actually has an inside pocket in here, which I like. You could keep your patterns in there, or like your row counter, or stitch markers, or whatever. I love it so much. That whole store was just like heaven to me. I don't love shopping, but if stores were like that, I would love shopping. Yeah, so I got that, and then let me see. Yep, I just wanted to tell you about those puzzles that I saw, and then I already actually talked about my beautiful little plant. I love him so much. And then I did want to mention really quickly, at the coffee shop that we went to, they were selling some stickers by a local artist, I believe, and she has an Etsy store, and I fell in love with these stickers because they were tea related stickers, and I am not a coffee drinker. I don't care for it. I'll drink it every now and then if it's like a latte or something, but I'm not a coffee drinker. But I am a tea drinker. I drink so much tea. I've already had 2 cups today, and I'm probably gonna have another 1 or 2 throughout the rest of the day. So I was really happy because all of these stickers, she had a bunch of stickers that were tea related, and most of the time when you're in the store or whatever, everything is coffee related. And I imagine that's because in America there's a massive love of coffee and all of that, and it's not like the UK where tea is a very, very common drink. I feel like in America it's a little bit less normal. So I was super happy to get some of these stickers, and they're actually downstairs. So what I'll do is I'll pop a picture up here of the stickers that I got, and I love them so much. They're so cute. And I think I'm either going to put them on my water bottle, or I might put them on my computer. I wish there was other things that you could use stickers for, that like you could almost display them, because they're so cute. I love them. But I will link the Etsy shop down below. I believe it's called Coffee and Leaf, I think is what it was called. I will link that down below if you want to give it a check out. I didn't notice that she had as many of the tea stickers online, unfortunately. It was mostly just coffee related. So, but I love her artwork. I thought it was really pretty and sweet, and so I was happy to buy a few. That is all that I have to talk about as far as acquisitions. So really quickly, I have, for the recommended or featuring segment of the podcast, I had 2 things that I wanted to talk about today. One is the School Run Accessories by Laura of Penrose Knits and the Knitting Pickle podcast. And I believe I mentioned these last episode, but I wanted to mention them again because the patterns have since been released. And she actually had a surprise. It was originally a collection where it had some fingerless mitts and then a hat, and then these beautiful designs with this picot edging, and I love them. But then when the patterns were released, she actually had another pattern which was a headband. So I will link all of it down below, but I immediately bought the fingerless mitts and the hat because I really want to make those. And they look very simple and very easy and a pretty quick knit. So yeah, I just wanted to mention it here because they have been released now and they are available for purchase. Then the second, I guess you could say this is more of a YouTuber podcaster feature, and I wanted to mention Gaina of Tales from Cuckoo Land. I believe that's right. If I'm wrong, I'll correct myself. She does a lot of more vlog styles, and there's knitting and sewing involved in some of them, but a lot of it's just vlogs kind of talking about her day. She lives in England somewhere. I don't remember exactly where. She has 3 boys, her husband, and they have 2 dogs and a couple hamsters who are absolutely adorable. I didn't know that I wanted a hamster until I saw her hamsters, and I realized I think a hamster would be fun to have. But I really recommend you checking out her podcast. She's hilarious, and I love watching her. She's got, she did Vlogtober this year, and I've still got about half of her videos to watch, because I've watched her before. I watched a few of her videos maybe 2-3 years ago, and I recently kind of rediscovered her and was just like, oh my goodness, I've been missing so much. She is just so lovely, and I've really enjoyed watching her videos. She seems so sweet and such a good mom. Like, honestly, just such a good mother, and I feel very inspired by her. Yeah, as a hoping to be mom-to-be, as I am, eventually hoping to have children. I just feel very inspired, and also she's just funny. She seems like the person you could go over for a cup of tea and a chat and just hang out with, and it would be super comfortable, super cozy, yeah. So I really recommend you check it out. She does talk about knitting sometimes, but a lot of her videos are just vlogs, but there are knitting vlogs out there. So, and then the last segment for today is going to be a book recommendation, and I'm just going to talk really quick about this book, which I actually just finished reading yesterday, and it is These Old Shades by Georgette Heyer. If you are a fan of Jane Austen or the Bronte sisters, Jane Eyre, Wuthering Heights, etc., or that general time period, so the Regency era, I really recommend that you check out Georgette Heyer. I have not read as many of her books as I want to, purely because my library only has about maybe 10 of her Regency books, and then they have a few of her murder mystery books that she also wrote. And so I just have not had access to as many, and I know that my library also has available to read a bunch of her books via ebook, but I really just love reading the actual books, but I'm realizing that I'm probably just gonna want to read the ebooks, and she's such a good writer. She's so witty and entertaining, and her characters are just so good. I've been reading a lot of romance type books here recently, historical romance, because that's my time period of choice. Contemporary books, modern books, contemporary romance, contemporary fiction, whatever, not my jam. Not my favorite thing. I love reading either classics or books that were either written 100+ years ago, or books that are set in a time period of 100+ years ago. That's my go-to. One of the things that I've noticed in a lot of historical romance books, especially if they're on the, I guess you could say, the smuttier, saucier side of things, is that rather than doing a lot of character and relationship development between the 2 main characters, it's much more of a build-up just to get to the next sex scene. And the stories are still pretty good. I've still enjoyed several of them that I've read, but one of the things that I love about Georgette Heyer is they are not smutty at all. They are very clean, if you will. There'll be some kissing and whatnot, but nothing else. But they're still very romantic, very, very much so. And she places so much emphasis on the characters and them being friends and getting to know each other, and the things that she hints at, then you pick up and you find out, okay, yeah, this is what it was from 2 chapters ago. This is that it was referring to. Just the dialogue and the characters, and they make me laugh so hard, because they'll just be this really witty comeback, and I'm like, okay. So I really recommend you check out Georgette Heyer if you do kind of the Regency era type stories. I loved this one. This particular one had, it's about a girl who was noble born, but she had no idea because basically at her birth, her parents swapped her with the child of a poor peasant farmer because she was not a boy, and they wanted to have a boy because her dad wanted to keep the succession of the title from his younger brother, because he and his younger brother had fought and argued and whatnot. And basically they hated each other. And so he decided instead of keeping his own child, he was going to replace it with some other person's child who was a boy, so that his younger brother could not get the title and the money and everything else. And it's the story of how the Duke, who's the main guy character, if you will, stumbles upon this girl. She's disguised as a boy, and she's been disguised as a boy for like 7 years, I think is what it was. And he finds her. She's running away from her brother because she's fully expecting him to, like, you know, beat her or whatever it is. He's just not very nice to her. And so she's running away. She stumbles upon this Duke. The Duke sees her and recognizes her similarity to this nobleman, who the Duke also doesn't like. And so he buys her to get her away from her brother. And he knows right off that she's a girl, but he doesn't let on that he knows. And so she stays as his like page for a while, and then he ends up kind of adopting her. And it's this really, really sweet story, and it is so good, and it is so funny. Yeah, it made me laugh. So I think I've talked about books enough now. That's the one thing, you get me started and I can't stop. But again, I really recommend Georgette Heyer. If that sounds like something that you would like to read, do really recommend checking it out. I was able to buy another book while we were at the used bookstore, and I'm excited to dive into that one. And I also found on eBay, surprisingly enough, eBay may be a place worth looking at for getting books. I've kind of ignored it, and then here recently I was able to buy a collection of Victoria Holt hardback books. There were like 13 or 14 of them for like $35, I think it was, or something, 35 or 40. And they're all like in pristine condition, basically. And I was super happy about that, because Victoria Holt is another one of my favorite authors. I've only read a few of her books, and so I'm really excited to be able to read those. But then I also found a set of 6 of Georgette Heyer's murder mystery books for like $16. And I was like, yes, please. So I have those books that I would like to read as well. I do prefer her Regency stories, Georgette Heyer's Regency stories, but of the murder mysteries that I've had there, it's the same writing style, same like very good characters, very witty conversation. I will say, because I've read so many of Agatha Christie's books where she's just the master of hiding who did it until the very end, I'm pretty easily able to pick up on who the villain of the story is in the Georgette Heyer books, but they're very entertaining and fun, kind of light reads. So anyway, that is all that I have for you today. Thank you so much for stopping by and hanging out with me. I hope that you found some books, and maybe if you're looking at making a Joni dress from the Tilly and the Buttons book, if you want to check out that video that I mentioned that was really helpful for actually having definitely my most successful Joni to date. I do recommend checking that out, and also Gaina, and taking a look at the School Run Accessory Patterns by Laura. I love them so much, and I need to, once I get this test knit done and probably a bit more done on this gift shawl, I probably want to cast those on. Yeah, anyway, I'm going to keep talking if I don't stop. So thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I hope that you enjoyed it, and I would love to hear how you guys have been doing, if you did anything special this weekend, or what you've been reading or working on. So leave a comment down below. I'd love to chit chat with you. I hope that you are doing well and staying healthy and safe. And yeah, thank you so much for being here and spending some time with me. I hope that you have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your Monday, if you watch this on the day that it comes out, and a wonderful rest of your week. Bye.